Boston can't finish underneath. Boston has opened up here just 1 for 4 on the night. And transition, Thomas, she is dangerous.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're a WNBA fan, you know the drama's been heating up, and today we're diving into the latest firestorm surrounding Phoenix Mercury star Alyssa Thomas. This is a story that's got it all: on-court brilliance, off-court controversy, and a whole lot of fan reaction. Alyssa Thomas, one of the league's most dominant forwards, is making headlines after a wild sequence of events in Indianapolis against the Indiana Fever. We're talking a potential suspension, fines, and Thomas clapping back in a big way. So buckle up because we're breaking it all down in this 1,600-word deep dive. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of the action. Let's get into it. First, let's set the stage. It's July 30th, 2025, and the Phoenix Mercury are facing off against the Indiana Fever at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. This is a high-stakes game, with the Mercury fighting for playoff positioning and the Fever riding the wave of their home crowd and rising star Caitlin Clark. Alyssa Thomas, the Mercury's do-it-all forward, is coming off a monster season.
Roster and their schemes is that Indiana was going to take away three-point shots and force them to the paint, which is what Indiana has done. Therefore, when you get by on a single ball screen, there's
averaging 15.3 points, 7.2 rebounds, and 10.2 assists over her last 12 games. She's a triple-double machine, a 2025 WNBA All-Star, and known for her gritty, physical style of play. But this game, it's about to become one of the most talked-about moments of her career. Thomas was absolutely on fire during the game. She dropped a season-high 32 points, grabbed 15 rebounds, and dished out 7 assists in 34 minutes, shooting an impressive 63.6% from the field. This was her first 30-point game of the year, and she was leading all scorers, showing why she's a cornerstone for the Mercury. The game was a nail-biter, with Phoenix jumping out to a 30-20 lead in the first quarter, thanks to Thomas and teammate Kalia Copper. But the Fever battled back, and by the final buzzer, Indiana pulled off a 107-101 victory. Tough loss for the Mercury, but Thomas's performance was undeniable. So, what's the controversy? Well, it's what happened after the game that's got everyone buzzing. Here's where things get juicy. According to the WNBA's 2025 season media access policy, players are required to make themselves available for post-game media sessions. It's a standard rule to ensure fans, sponsors, and media outlets get the insights they expect from the league's stars. But after this game, Alyssa Thomas was nowhere to be found. While Mercury coach Nate Tibbetts and Kalia Copper showed up for the clubhouse press conference, Thomas didn't emerge from the locker room. Fans noticed, and the internet, especially Reddit, lit up like a Christmas tree. Threads were popping off, with fans speculating that Thomas and the Mercury could be facing fines for breaching league rules. Some even called for a suspension, arguing that skipping media duties is a serious violation. Now, let's talk about why this matters. The WNBA is in a new era with a landmark media deal, and the league is under pressure to maintain a polished image. Media access is a big part of that. It's about accountability, transparency, and giving fans the content they crave. When a high-profile player like Thomas, who's not just a star but a leader, skips out, it's a big deal. Fans pointed to a recent precedent. Chicago Sky's Angel Reese was fined $1,000 for missing media availability after a June 1st game against the Fever, and the Sky organization got slapped with a $5,000 fine. So, the speculation was rampant. Would Thomas face a similar penalty, or would the WNBA come down harder on her? The fan reaction was intense. On Reddit, some called Thomas's absence unprofessional, arguing that as a veteran, she should know better. Others speculated that she was dodging the media to avoid questions about the Fever's physical play, or maybe even her own performance in the loss. But not everyone was against her. Some fans defended Thomas, saying she might have needed time for recovery or was dealing with personal matters after a grueling game. After all, elite athletes like Thomas have intense post-game routines, ice baths, recovery, team bonding that can take priority. Still, the WNBA's rules are clear, and skipping media isn't something the league takes lightly. So, what's the fallout? As of now, no official statement has been released by the WNBA or the Mercury about a fine or suspension for Thomas. But the buzz is that the league is reviewing the incident, and given the precedent with Angel Reese, it's likely Thomas could be looking at a fine in the $1,000 range, with the Mercury potentially facing a heftier organizational penalty. A suspension, though, that's less certain. Suspensions in the WNBA are typically reserved for on-court incidents, like flagrant fouls or physical altercations, rather than off-court issues like media availability. But the calls for harsher punishment are loud. especially from Fever fans who've had a rocky history with Thomas. Speaking of that history, let's rewind to some context that's fueling the fire. Thomas has been at the center of controversy with the Fever before. Back on May 25, 2024, when she was still with the Connecticut Sun, Thomas was ejected from a game against the Chicago Sky for a flagrant 2 foul on Angel Reese. The play was intense. Thomas and Reese were battling for a rebound, and Thomas caught Reese with a clothesline to the neck, sending her crashing to the floor. The foul was deemed dangerous, and Thomas was tossed from the game. Social media erupted, with some fans calling it a dirty play and demanding a suspension. Others argued it was just hard-nosed basketball, and Reese herself downplayed it, saying there were no hard feelings, and she appreciated Thomas's physicality. That incident didn't result in a suspension, but it left a mark. Fever fans, in particular, haven't forgotten, and it's added fuel to their frustration with Thomas. Fast forward to September 2024, and Thomas was back in the headlines after the Suns' playoff win over the Fever. She called out what she described as racial comments from Indiana's fan base, saying she'd never experienced anything like it in her 11-year career. This was a serious accusation, and it sparked a league-wide conversation about fan behavior. The WNBA issued a statement condemning racist and derogatory comments, and both Sun coach Stephanie White and Fever coach Christy Sides backed Thomas, calling the abuse unacceptable. But some Fever fans felt targeted and pushed back, arguing Thomas was unfairly painting their fan base with a broad brush. Now, with this latest media skipping incident, the tension is palpable. Fever fans are vocal on platforms like X and Reddit, with some calling Thomas unlikable and accusing her of disrespecting Indianapolis by leaving early after the All-Star game in July 2025. One fan even commented, "Get this old head out the W, dragging the mood down in Indy." Others have gone as far as to say her behavior is why WNBA players don't make money, tying her actions to broader league optics. It's a harsh narrative, but it shows how polarized the conversation around Thomas has become. So, how did Alyssa Thomas respond to all this? Well, she didn't stay silent. While she skipped the post-game presser, Thomas took to social media to fire back. In a now viral post on X, she wrote, "Y'all can talk all you want, but I'm out here playing my heart out every night. Respect the game, respect the grind." It was a classic Thomas move, direct, unapologetic, and dripping with her signature intensity. She didn't address the media absence specifically, but her post was clearly aimed at the critics piling on about her professionalism. And let's be real, Thomas has always been a player who lets her game do the talking. Whether it's her trash talking on the court, she was voted the league's biggest trash talker in an anonymous player survey, or her relentless stat-stuffing performances, she's not here for the drama. But drama seems to find her. Let's zoom out for a second and look at the bigger picture. This incident raises questions about the balance between player autonomy and league expectations. Thomas is a veteran who's given everything to the WNBA. She's a former Maryland star, holds 8 statistical records from her college days, and is a perennial all-star. Her move to Phoenix in 2025 reunited her with her fiancé, DeWanna Bonner, and she's been a leader for a Mercury team with championship aspirations. But the WNBA is a business, and stars like Thomas are expected to uphold its standards, especially in a season where the league is pushing for growth and visibility. Skipping media availability, even if unintentional, can be seen as a misstep in that context. On the flip side, you've got to sympathize with players like Thomas. The physical and mental toll of a WNBA season is brutal. Short off-seasons, intense travel schedules, and the pressure of performing in front of increasingly vocal fans. Add to that the social media hate Thomas has faced, from racial comments to personal attacks, and it's understandable why she might need a moment to decompress. The WNBA's media policy is strict, but is a fine or suspension really the answer for a one-off absence? Or should the league focus on supporting players dealing with the pressures of fame and scrutiny? The fan perspective is split. Some argue Thomas should be held accountable. She's a professional, and media duties come with the job. Others say the league needs to cut players some slack, especially veterans who've carried the WNBA for years. On X, one user wrote, "Alyssa Thomas is a beast on the court, but she's human. Let her breathe." Another countered, "If you're a star, you don't get to pick and choose when to show up. Rules are rules." It's a debate that's not going away anytime soon. As for what's next, the WNBA's decision will be telling. A fine seems likely, given the Reese precedent, but a suspension would be a shock unless there's more to the story we don't know. The Mercury are in the thick of a playoff push, and losing Thomas for even a game would be a blow. Their next games are against the Atlanta Dream and Chicago Sky, and Thomas's presence is crucial. Plus, with the league's CBA negotiations ongoing, Thomas herself spoke about players leveraging their value during All-Star Weekend. Any disciplinary action could stir up more tension. Let's not forget the Fever angle. Their fans are fired up, and this incident has only deepened the rivalry. Whether it's Thomas waving at the crowd after Bonner was booed or her history of physical play against Fever players like Clark and Reese, there's no love lost. The next time these teams meet, you can bet it'll be must-watch TV. So, what do you think? Is Alyssa Thomas being unfairly targeted, or does she need to step up and meet the league's expectations? Should the WNBA come down hard, or is this being blown out of proportion? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'm reading all of them, and I want to hear where you stand. Also, let me know if you want a follow-up video once the WNBA announces any penalties. For now, Thomas is still out there doing what she does best, dominating on the court and letting the haters talk. That's all for today, folks. Like, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.